So I think the other part of that too is that what was that stat that like 80% of men are invisible to women? So like you have to factor that into the equation. Like it can't just be an equation of just addition and subtraction. Like this is an algorithm we're working with. If most women don't have most men on their actual radar, doesn't matter if that man's approaching or making a comment, she's not even in the realm of acknowledging its existence. So then you have to subtract, like remove that portion of people out of that and then take a look at it.
No, I mean, I would agree with you, but I think they view it from the lens, like you're saying, they not factoring that in. Because, like, in the way like the way we look at sex is when opportunity presents itself, we would do it most of the time, especially if you're single, right? So we then project that onto women sometimes and believe that they will operate the same way for the men that they want. And that's why. And then you got a woman online who had sex with like 900 dudes in one day, right? So those stories make the news, and whatever your perception of reality is, it begins to shape your reality. So you look for confirmation bias or things to point out and highlight things within society that show you, hey, yeah, I was right about this thought. And it's detrimental to the mental health of a lot of men, but it's happening.
I look at it this way. It was so funny because I saw a podcast and I wish I had that clip. And in the podcast, it was a whole lot of women. And the question was, when you go to, what's your purpose in going out to the club? I think the question was. And this one girl, she was the first person to speak. She was like, oh, to get the D. And then all the other girls was like, what? And she was like one girl who was like to get the D, and she was so stern. She's like she thought that every woman went to the club to get a D because she decided to go to the club to get D. And the other girls were like, no, that's not why we go to the club. And then I think to guys, and the guys are really quick to believe that. What if that was the only girl on the show, right? And there were no other girls, so we would have to just take her word for it. So now she speaks on behalf of all the other girls, right? But then I think to myself, if that's true, if every girl goes to the club to get the D, wouldn't that mean you would be getting the every time you go to the club, you will be getting the D a lot? I mean, getting vagina a lot. Like you're not thinking of like when you sit here and say, "Oh, women be going on these dates and they having sex," so that means that when you go on dates, you're having sex. Like these are the same women. Like the odds are not like y'all think they are, because then you will be getting laid more often, would you not? It just doesn't make any sense. It's not adding up. So if you're walking away from the club and you're not having sex, you're walking away without having sex more often than you are. 9 out of 10, that's because women are just not having sleeping with people that way. Because if it were the opposite, you will be getting laid more when you go to the club. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like I think if I was to answer that question, then my number would be extremely biased. But I understand that it's biased,
Shut
so
up,
I
Mark.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mute the mic. Mute the mic.
The
Mute
truth
the
about
mic.
it is, I do think for women, if they wanted to rack up that many bodies,
I could,
they
but it's just
absolutely have the access to do that. But because there's so many options, we don't have to. Like Inaz was saying, in terms of a lot of women don't even notice most men, right? So so in that regard, they're not racking up that type of number. I'm not saying that you have women that are not promiscuous and don't have not have sex with a lot of men. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to that degree, to think that the average is over
it's
300
most women.
bodies is crazy. It's crazy.
Let me put things in perspective for you, okay? If there's a race outside and people are jogging and a dude comes up to me, he's drenched in sweat, I'll be like, so what makes you think that I want any other fluids on me? And I don't know you. And I don't even want to hug you when you just ran a race for a great cause. Like, no, I'm okay with that. No. Some people don't care about stuff like that. I do. I don't, I don't see it. I'm sorry, but that's just me. And there are a lot of women out there like me.
And I think,
it's
Marcus, that goes to kind of what we were talking about yesterday. about this image. I know in general is Western like culture, but since we're specifically talking about Black women, I think that that is part of the issue of what we were talking about yesterday in regards to the media, social media, TV, all of these things that are putting women, Black women, at the forefront of saying how promiscuous we are and how
It's a
we
setup, y'all. It is a setup.
sexualized and we'll sleep with anybody for anything, for money, for food stamps, for whatever, you know. And then on the flip side, the men are being you know, over sexualized as well, as like and you know, sometimes is reinforced by our own behaviors when we are seeing women that are half naked or dancing, got their legs spread wide open in a thong, like all of those. And then the men are like, oh, if she ain't sleeping with me on the first date or by the third day, I ain't spending money on, you know, all of that. Like in some circles, that image is being reinforced, which then makes the person think that this is what's happening, you know, across the board, where I would say the vast majority of women are not moving like that. But like you said, that confirmation bias, when you're seeing a few that are doing it in your mind, see, all women are doing that. But you're specifically looking for that thing, so you're gonna find it. And so I just think that is just crazy to sit here and say that this many women, on average, women are sleeping with over 300 men. It just doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even sound right saying that. I'm not saying
what 300 men are.
Yeah.
So,
do you even know 300 men? Like,
Listen,
so Marcus, I got.
I don't even know 300
I don't even
men.
come across 300 men that I'm even attracted
I
to.
don't even know 300 men.
I want to ask Marcus a quick question because I'm gonna kind of flip the question or the conversation towards the guys a little bit. In your experience, in both HD and Marcus, in you guys' experience, when you went out to the club, what percentage of guys were actually actively even willing to chat with the women versus the percentage of men that were holding up the damn wall? So, like, you know, Enos broke down that 80% of guys are invisible. But shit, from my experience, 90% of the men are holding up the walls. Did you guys see the same thing when you went to clubs, or am I off?
Well, I'm not a very good judge of what is seen in the club because I can probably count on both my fingers the amount of time I've been in the club. I don't deal with the clubs like that. I've been to a few bars here and there, but never been a club person. I don't deal with women in the club like that either. So yeah, I'm not a good judge. But when I was in the club, there aren't a lot of men that approach a lot of women. Might be a few that might do that. Some guys might dance with a few girls and they might dance with them multiple girls. Sometimes they'll just dance with just one girl the whole time. But yeah, a lot of guys ain't out here trying to, well, not that they ain't trying, but a lot of guys aren't really putting in the effort in the club to approach a number of women.